We have another packed MLB recap on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. The Orioles, man, they made a trade with the Angels, and Angels fans are thinking to themselves, did we finally fleece a team? The Orioles are thinking the opposite. They're thinking, did we just get fleeced? What are we doing? Also in today's recap, we have a few pretty big name players randomly becoming free agents because they just got let go. So before we talk about the trades from yesterday, I want to talk about a few brand new free agents, and they're free agents because they got DFA'd. Nathaniel Lowe, he is one of the newest free agents, and he's had some seasons of being really good. Back in 2022, he had 27 home runs and a 139 OPS plus. The next year, he had 38 doubles and won a Gold Glove. This past season in 2025, in split time between the Nationals and the Red Sox, he wasn't very good with the Nationals. He had a negative WAR. He goes to the Red Sox. He puts up a 280 batting average with a 370 on base, a 121 OPS plus, and the defense went back to normal as well. So Nathaniel Lowe is welcome for any other team to take. One thing you do have to remember about Nathaniel Lowe is that he is entering arbitration, so he's going to be a little bit more expensive, or if you can make the case against them, he might not make as much. But another thing, he's also a free agent in 2027, so it's going to be a one-year deal, a flyer, and unless a team out there really likes him, if they feel like they can get 2022 Nathaniel Lowe back, it might be worth it. JJ Bleday, have yourself a day, is no longer an A. Sorry about that. By the way, they are going by the Sacramento Athletics next season, so he is no longer a Sacramento A. JJ Bleday, he was so good a couple years ago in 2024. At 26 years old, the former Vanderbilt stud teed off for 43 doubles with 20 home runs and a decent 324 on base. He's someone that strikes out a bunch, and that came to bite him in 2025 when he saw the batting average drop to 212. The OPS plus went from 120 to 92. He did still have 17 doubles and 14 home runs in 98 games, but that was kind of it. And I mean that because defensively, he is one of the worst defensive outfielders in the game. He can make a flashy play every so often, but between 2024 and 2025, he's been worth a negative 29 defensive run saves. I didn't even think that was possible. I will give him some credit. It's not like he was completely useless last year. He still took his walks, he doesn't chase, and he still has a pretty good arm. So all of those things combined, and again, we're talking about a former Vanderbilt stud who's entering his age 28 season. The Tampa Bay Rays actually just released a bunch of outfielders. We'll talk about that in a second. So to me, JJ Bleday is going to be a Ray. Wow, another guy who got DFA'd after showing a lot of promise in 2024. Michael Toglia, at the age of 25 in 2024, had 25 home runs in 116 games for the Rockies and had 11 defensive run saves. That's pretty impressive for a 25-year-old. The only problem is Michael got completely eviscerated by the game of baseball in 2025. That's how fast MLB can catch up to you, literally in one calendar year. He went from an almost 12 walk rate to an 8.3 walk rate. He was striking out 32% of the time in 2024, which still isn't great, to almost 40% of the time this past season. According to Fangraphs, he was one of the worst players in baseball last year. He had a whopping negative 2.2 FWAR. That is all-time bad. But considering he's a 6'5" switch-hitting monster who's only 27 years old, I feel like the Rockies are bad enough to keep this guy around, or maybe that's just me. Then again, the 23-year-old warming Bernabel, if you know, you know. And also Blaine Crim, they showed some promise last year, so it just seems like the Rockies, they would rather Michael Toglia get daily reps elsewhere. At least they're doing him a favor. This next move, honestly, it's the true definition of how shrewd of a business Major League Baseball can be. The Guardians DFA'd Nick Enright, who just came back from cancer and put up a 2 ERA with 30 strikeouts in almost as many innings. He was really good at avoiding getting hit hard. He got some chases. I liked watching Nick Enright, but because he suffered a UCL injury, he's probably not going to be pitching in 2026. The Guardians said, "We love you, kid. We respect the fact that you came back from literal cancer and dominated, but we need some roster moves, so unfortunately, we got to get rid of you." Maybe he goes unclaimed and he can come back and rehab the entire season and come back in 2027. That's my hope, but he's disgusting. I honestly think someone's going to pick him up and just unleash him in 2027. A few moments ago, I talked about how the Rays got rid of a few outfielders. Christopher Morel is one of them, and also Jake Fraley. Yes, Jake Fraley was momentarily picked up after the Rays gave away Cameron Meisner. I thought that Fraley was going to get some playing time. Nope, Morel and Fraley are both gone. Also, Forrest Whitley, I do want to mention that real quick. He's going to the NPB. One of my favorite prospects of all time. I thought that Forrest Whitley was going to be a dog for the Astros and then maybe fixed by the Rays. Nope, he's going overseas. Man, that one stings. I really thought that Forrest Whitley was going to be him. Back to the outfielders, the Rays dropped Christopher Morel. I mean, this guy with the Cubs, you remember how special he was when he first began his career? He had 16 home runs and a 104 OPS plus as a 23-year-old, which is pretty good. The next season at 24 years old, he went off for 26 home runs and a 122 OPS plus. But his biggest bugaboos, defense and strikeouts, they caught up to him pretty quick. In 2024, he hit 196 with 159 strikeouts. He turned in a pretty terrible 80 OPS plus. He goes to the Rays in a trade, and yeah, he was not very good. In 154 games, he was worth a negative WAR. He had 14 home runs and a 78 OPS plus. He became a shell of himself. He also, the strikeouts are just bad, very bad. Just like JJ Bleday, though, he's kind of entering his prime. He does have some skills. He has one of the best outfield arms in the game. The bat speed is legendary, and when he does connect, he has some of the best exit velocities and barrel rates in the game. But just the strikeout rate, he struck out almost 36% of the time. That can't happen. And then Jake Fraley, he didn't even get a chance to wear a Tampa Bay Rays uniform. We know a few years ago, this guy was kind of a stud. He had a 121 OPS plus in 2022. The next season, he has 15 home runs and a 340 on base. And last year, it's not like he was the worst player in baseball. He only had 76 games under his belt. He hit 241 with the 332 on base, but the slugging kind of fell off, so he only had a 94 OPS plus. Fraley has always been a whole lot better versus righties, just like the typical lefty in baseball, and he's played some decent defense throughout his career. A lot of low-risk, very high-reward players have come on the market over the last 24 hours. It's actually been a lot of fun to watch. Kind of the same for this next guy, Ramon Urias. Not that he's a superstar talent or anything like that, but he's a rock-solid defender who's had some decent seasons in the past. He's had career highs of 16 home runs, a 328 on base, 14 defensive run saves. So again, there is some talent there, and he's gone. He's not with the Astros anymore. So of all the DFAs we talked about today, Nathaniel Lowe, JJ Bleday, Michael Toglia, Nick Enright, Christopher Morel, Jake Fraley, Ramon Urias, I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below. Do you want these guys on your team? And don't forget to let me know who is your favorite team. And also, while you're down there, before we get into the trades from yesterday, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Let's keep growing the game of baseball one video at a time. We have a few smaller trades to talk about before we get into the big boy trade between the Orioles and the Angels. The Rays picked up two separate relievers in one trade from the White Sox, Steven Wilson and Yoendrys Gomez, in exchange for Everson Pereira, the former top prospect for the Yankees, and also an infielder, Tanner Murray. Steven Wilson was the best player last year from this trade. He had a 3.4 ERA in 55 innings. That's a decent amount of innings for a reliever. But the Rays love the fact that he avoids barrels, and they think that they can up that chase rate, so not a bad pick. He's also a big guy at 6'4". The Rays are taking on a project in Yoendrys Gomez, who was on the Yankees and the Dodgers last year. So obviously, if two elite franchises are looking at this guy, they see the talent, and the Rays, they're going to try and finally unlock it. The White Sox are taking on former top prospects left and right, Curtis Mead, Everson Pereira. Remember, he was a megastar in the Yankees system not too long ago. Everson bursted onto the scene at 22 years old, hitting .312 with a 940 OPS in his first handful of AAA games. But remember what I said to you guys earlier in the video, that teams catch up to you pretty quick? It kind of happened to Everson Pereira because he's not been the same since. And just for some context, in 160 big league at-bats, so he has made his debut, he's hitting 146 with a 24 OPS plus, so he can only go up from here. And then the fourth player, Tanner Murray, he kind of had a pop-off season last year for the Rays at 25 years old as a middle infielder. He had 29 doubles and 18 home runs after not really being a power bat, so he figured out something, and the White Sox, they're trying to take advantage of that momentum shift. The White Sox were not done making trades. They made another top drawer trade. If you're brand new here, I make that joke every time we talk about both Sox, but Chris Murphy of the Red Sox, he's going to the White Sox. He was pretty good with them last year, a 3.1 ERA in 23 appearances. Not bad. The Red Sox acquired a minor league catcher by the name of Ronny Hernandez, a 21-year-old who hit 4 home runs in 82 games last year, so we may never see him again, or he might randomly pop off in 4 or 5 years. Who knows? Just like the White Sox, the Red Sox made a few trades. They traded a right-hander by the name of Alex Hoppy or something like that to Seattle, and left-hander Brennan Bernardino to the Rockies. Brennan had a 3.1 ERA last year in 55 appearances. They get a catcher, Luke Heyman from the Mariners, and outfielder Braden Ward from the Rockies. So the Red Sox, I don't know if they're not confident in Carlos Narvaez, but they're picking up catchers left and right. Josh Winkowski is also gone. This dude had a 2.8 ERA in 84 innings back in 2023. He's been DFA'd, not traded. I probably should have talked about this guy earlier when we talked about the DFAs, but I wanted to keep him for the Red Sox plethora of moves because there was a lot of them. The Twins are kind of returning the favor for Minnesota, giving them Griffin Jax, a stud reliever. The Rays have traded Eric Orze to the Twins. Eric had 3 saves last year, which makes a lot of sense because the Rays use that carousel of relievers to pick up random saves every so often. But in 41 2/3 innings, he had a 3 ERA. In return, the Rays are getting a minor league pitcher by the name of Jacob Kisting. He had a 3.7 something ERA with 77 strikeouts and 73 innings in low A ball. So there's that. Finally, we got all of the DFAs out the way, all of the smaller trades. It's time to talk about that big boy trade. I'm saying that this is a big boy trade. Grayson Rodriguez is going to the Angels in exchange for Taylor Ward. This is big. It's big because the Angels have been trying to trade Taylor Ward for the last few months, and they haven't really had a suitor that was worthy of taking on Taylor Ward because the packages weren't very good. Grayson Rodriguez, that's a good package. I know he didn't pitch in 2025, but that also provides some context going forward. The reports are saying that he should be ready for 2026 and that he's basically back to being 100% healthy. Back in 2024, Grayson, at 24 years old, put up a 3.8 ERA in 20 starts with 130 strikeouts and 116 innings. That's a 10 strikeouts per 9, and the walks went down. He had a 2.8 walks per 9. Pretty impressive for a guy who throws as hard as him with that wipeout off-speed stuff. But maybe there was recent imaging that the Orioles were not comfortable with, and they're not confident in Grayson Rodriguez being able to return to form, so they're picking up a 6th outfielder in Taylor Ward. That was literally the trade. It was 1 for 1. I mean, just off the top of my head, in terms of outfielders for the Orioles, I know I said 6, but let's count them down. So there's now Taylor Ward, along with Tyler O'Neill, who's still very much on the team. There's Colton Cowser. Dylan Beavers looked insane. They still have Heston Kjerstad, who I have a lot of faith in. Who's the 6th guy? I got to be missing someone. Oh, Leody Taveras. I wonder if they're just going to cut bait with him now. With all that being said, I don't think that depth is going to be an issue the Orioles really care about because it's a nice issue to have. You are plugging in a guy who was coming off a 36 home run campaign with a bunch of RBIs into a lineup with Jackson Holliday, who was a whole lot better in the second half after his dad gave him some advice. Jordan Westberg is disgustingly good when right. You have Gunnar Henderson, Ali Rutschman, if he can get right, my God. In the same lineup as Taylor Ward, Tyler O'Neill, Colton Cowser, Samuel Basayo. I still really like Heston Kjerstad and Kobe Mayo. It's going to be a juggernaut lineup if everything goes to plan. That's the key word. If everything goes to plan, that's just, we're crossing our fingers. Then again, the Angels are also crossing their fingers that Grayson Rodriguez can stay healthy. But the biggest part about all of this is that Orioles fans are thinking to themselves, wait, Grayson Rodriguez is 26 years old. He's a cost control arm who's not a free agent until 2030. We just gave up that guy. Like, we need pitching. We just gave up a pitcher for a guy who, yes, can rake at times, and maybe he'll bounce back to being a good defender. But Taylor Ward is a free agent in 2027. The Orioles get 1 year of Taylor Ward in exchange for giving away a cost control arm that was under contract until 2030. One thing to know as well, Mike Maddox, the pitching guru for the Rangers for a long time, he's no longer with the Rangers. He's on the Angels. So the Angels are bringing back Reed Detmers into the rotation. They can now go Yusei Kikuchi, Jose Soriano, who is disgusting. Maybe Mike Maddox can fully unlock his strikeout stuff because he should be striking out a whole lot more guys. Then you can go Grayson Rodriguez and Reed Detmers and maybe fix those guys as well with Maddox's expertise in the staff. I mean, come on, this is actually pretty fun. My only thought is that they have their sights on a big dog starting pitcher. Maybe they have confidence that they can grab a Tatsuya Imai or bring in someone like a Zach Gallen. There's other studs like Framber Valdez. I was going to say in a video that's about to come out that maybe they could be involved with a Brandon Woodruff or a Shota Imanaga. Those guys aren't available anymore, but maybe they can trade for Freddie Peralta. That actually makes a lot of sense. The Brewers love their prospects, their cheap prospects, and they're willing to give away Freddie Peralta. I actually think that's going to happen. So whose side are you on? Are you on the side of the Orioles giving away a Grayson Rodriguez because they have all of the imaging and context on their side? They just don't think that Grayson can bounce back? Or do you like Taylor Ward and you think that he's going to be an impact bat that helps everyone else in the lineup get better? And again, Taylor Ward has 1 season left with the Orioles unless they extend him. Grayson is not a free agent until 2030. So that's the big elephant in the room. And there we have it, another recap in the books. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Use code Fuzzy on SeatGeek as well as on Underdog Fantasy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be safe.